So are you thinking about doing indoors? Well, let me give you 4 reasons why you shouldn't compete indoors. Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. I hope you guys are good. If you haven't watched my last video where I talked about 4 reasons why you should do indoors, then make sure to check that video out. In today's video, I'm going to give you 4 reasons that you shouldn't do indoors. Number 1, if you're injured. Don't force it, guys. Do not force it. Use your winter block, your training block to get healthy, to get yourself up to scratch. If you're trying to make a team or something like that and you really believe that you can make it, then it is a risk and you have to weigh that up. In everything that I'm saying, you can take it at your own discretion. These are just my tips of advice. But if you're injured, it's usually the better option for you to not compete. It's usually the better option for you to take your time and get back healthy and fit completely, as opposed to staying at 70-85% and pushing yourself too early, which can potentially make things worse for you. Not everybody competes indoors, and so outdoors usually is where it's at. Even though no one can ever take away from you an indoor title, no one can ever take away from you an indoor championship or a time that you run indoors, but things are different indoors. It's not the same events that you do outdoors that you do indoors for the most part. The outdoor season is longer, the indoor season is a lot shorter, and so don't push it. If you don't have to compete indoors, if it's not a thing where your contract is dependent on it, something like that, don't force it, guys. If you're injured, don't do indoors. So another reason why you shouldn't do indoors, or why it's advisable for you not to do indoors, maybe if you've had a really long previous season. Let's say in the previous season you did indoors and you did outdoors and the season was really long. It finished in, let's say, early October, let's say. That's a really long season of competing. Maybe let's say you've done that multiple years in a row. Perhaps you want to take the time to actually recover because you don't want to risk fatiguing your body and potentially getting injured. And maybe you haven't had a really good solid training block in a while. Choosing not to do indoors could be the right option for you. So think about that. If you had a really long previous season, you had a really long previous couple of seasons, then perhaps you want to sit back on this indoors and not compete. The third reason that I would say that you shouldn't do indoors is if you've literally just started training, or you just started athletics, like literally as in
you literally just started athletics.
You've never trained a day in your life. Maybe you've done 1 session or 2. You're most likely putting yourself at risk because competing is another level to training, and so it could potentially be asking for injury. If you haven't trained, if you haven't got any fitness base, then going out and training and trying to attack something, a technical skill that you've not yet mastered, could be asking for injury. And so if you haven't yet trained, you've only literally just started your journey, the advice would be to get a nice little training block in. Maybe use the 3 months that you have, 1 month, 2 months, to at least get some training in, some understanding of the event that you want to do, some technical skills behind you before you go and try and compete in that event. And so the 4th reason that I've got as to why you should not do indoors is if it doesn't fit the plan. And ultimately this is going to be the big deciding factor for pretty much every athlete. You're going to sit down with your coach, if you have one. You're going to sit down with yourself, with your notebook. If you need a training diary, guys, I've got a link in the description box. You know, sit down with your training diary and write out, does it fit your plan? If competing indoors does not fit the plan, maybe your plan is you have a certain championship in mind, maybe you're trying to attain a certain standard and you need a certain amount of training to actually get to a certain place in your fitness. You need a certain amount of training to master a certain kind of skill that you're trying to master, then perhaps indoors is not going to work for you. But maybe on the other hand, you want to do indoors because you want to practice a skill that you're trying to master, and so therefore it does fit the plan. So if competing indoors doesn't fit the plan ultimately, then just leave it out. Basically, it's not compulsory. It's one of those things where it can have added benefits, it can have bonuses, and like I said, if you haven't checked out my last video about it, then check that out. But then at the same time, if it doesn't ultimately fit the plan, ultimately fit the vision that you have for that particular season, and let's say going forward, then don't do indoors. It's not by force, as we say. So really consider, does it fit your plan? Does it fit the plan that you're going for in this season? So guys, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Was it helpful for you? Let me know in the comment section below. Are you doing indoors this year? Why? Why not? Let me know in the comment section below. So if you're someone who is not doing indoors and you're looking for the outdoor season, and maybe you're thinking, what other major championships are there to actually aim for now that it's not an Olympic year maybe, then check out this video and I'll see you guys next Friday.